Whether it's conscious or subconscious, I think Feng Shui plays a role in who we are and what we do.
I've been exposed to several different Eastern philosophies, starting off with Zen Buddhism in the study of Japanese gardens at school. They had a major influence on the design of gardens in North America. The challenge of creating gardens indoors is to bring together various elements that people relate to in a calming fashion.
Hi, I'm Karen Clare. Welcome to the show. In the fast-paced world of advertising, you need to create a sense of balance. You need an environment that not only stimulates good creativity, but also good vibrations. Here's an FSL success story.
The Brainstorm Group is an international advertising marketing agency, and we have clients in Canada, United States, Scotland. In Scotland, we handle Baxter's Soup. We work with Kenneth Cole out of New York, Polo Ralph Lauren, Alfred Sung Fragrances, and a lot in the fashion beauty category. I had heard of it and read about Feng Shui, but it was really my association with Monique Le Ray who brought it to the fore, who, when we started designing this place, talked about the environment, the positive energy that I wanted to create. And she really brought it up and said, well, let's do this. Let's make sure that what we do fits with Feng Shui and we get the energy from it.
In fact, I knew Ron before. I did some work in his house, and it's always helped me to kind of connect, to know exactly what kind of person he is, and he has a lot of energy. And of course, when he told me about the new space he wanted to get, he was like sharing that with me, and he was like bouncing up and down.
For me, the office was about common spaces, was about great workstations, but the availability of the whole office to everybody in it. So there's lots of conversation areas where creative can happen anywhere and everywhere. And I talked to Monique about that and about my own style. I usually wear black, but I love color. Color inspires.
I took my inspiration from Ron. I know he loves colors, then the red is everywhere, and it's really a lot of energy. And I wanted to use wood and metal, and I incorporated concrete afterwards, a concrete wall, and a lot of mirrors, because I wanted the space to work a special way.
I wanted our office to set a stage, to create a feeling that when a client or prospect walked in, they were dealing with somebody substantive, somebody who is already successful, and so the branding of Brainstorm is created throughout.
The branding is very important. We are an advertising agency, and it has to be seen everywhere. Then that's why I use it in the furniture, cut in the metal, the boardroom table. It is in the carpet. It is, a bit everywhere. It's important for clients to kind of recognize that this is a custom place where they will have a custom job done on their product as well.
I love the fact that when people do business, sometimes the deal is culminated at lunch or over a cup of coffee. And so what can we do to create almost a restaurant feel, that we can have meetings in the cafe or have a client in there or do a presentation that you're in a formal setting, but it feels much more conversational. And so that was part of our thinking as well.
The boardroom, all the colors are calmer. We have the purple again, like the money, and we have the green for the growth. The metal and the wood on the conference table. And like I told Ron, this is a room that spells money. You can sign big check there, and it's done with the Feng Shui in mind.
I love light. I think that I'm sort of solar driven, you know, solar powered, and we have wonderful windows in the space.
The space was fairly easy to work with because of these fabulous windows all around, but of course they had to reach the center here. And that's why in all those partitions that I designed, I have this little opening there that let the light come through and the energy, and still giving you a sense of privacy.
I've been asked about Feng Shui and why we would adhere to it or adapt it, and I've always told people that part of it is, for me, is intuitive. I love plants. I actually work 6 days a week, and I start my Sunday in here bringing in plants and putting flowers on people's desks and changing the orchids and looking after that, and it gives me some sense of joy and to see the plants prosper and grow. I like to have fountains. I like the idea of water. I like the idea of meeting spaces. But at the end of the day, what you really want is for people to come in and feel good about where they work, that they feel inspired. And in fact, when you look at some of our workstations, they're not very big, but the ability to share the office, to go to the red couch area and have a meeting or sit in the cafe, gives people a sense that this whole space is theirs.
I want it to flow like a river. A lot of the workstation in the studio, everything is wavy. And the traffic is very good, like nobody, like there is nobody coming face to face, like there is always another way to travel in the space, which is interesting.
I like to encourage discussion in the office about the work. And because we have no walls, everybody can learn something about the other person's account, about their challenges, and can contribute. And so the design, I believe, has played a huge role in the success of our agency and the resulting creative product.
I think Feng Shui is very important in the design. Of course, you have to be a good designer, you have to have impeccable taste, that's one thing, but the design, how to arrange the pieces together is really important. If you have some conflict or something aggressive in the design, of course, it will influence people coming in the office, people working there. There will be conflict with people. Then I really, really believe that Feng Shui, which is close to human being, and space, which is also there for the human being, are really, really connected. And for me, Feng Shui is something that will never leave me.
Whether it's conscious or subconscious, I think Feng Shui plays a role in who we are and what we do. Certainly, one of the proudest moments I have is when I tour people through the office and just show them the environment, because it says creativity, and it really does reflect who we are.
Just another example of how mainstream Feng Shui has become. Now let's try your luck on the FSL question. Which of the following are considered bad Feng Shui? A bedroom overlooking a freeway, resting at the end of a long, narrow corridor, an entrance that is dark and cramped, or not watching Feng Shui Life? You'll have to stay with us for the answer.
When I'm designing a garden, I'm working with the owners, the people who use it, and I really try and bring out what they want to have in the garden. The spirituality is each person's to find, and I've been very successful in making my clients happy, so therefore their own spirituality is reflected in that garden.
If you enjoy watching Feng Shui Life but feel we leave you wanting more, you can check out our website at fengshuilife.tv. There you'll find archive stories you might have missed, answers to our FSL questions, and so much more about Feng Shui and other related topics. Now here's our next story.
I design gardens because I can't do anything else. It's within my nature, within my passion. I've been doing it for 26 years, and after initial discovery of that I really wanted to do it, I found that I just can't stop. And my daughter said to me the other day, "Dad, you're going to be 95 and still designing gardens," and it's everything that I do. I walk around and I'm always designing. It's not only gardens that I design, I also design interiors, basements, people's kitchens, layouts. Wherever I go, there's design. Even my business card is designed. Regular people who, because I specialize in gardens, will take one look at this and go, "Oh, he's a designer," because he's not the same as everybody else. I've been exposed to several different Eastern philosophies, starting off with Zen Buddhism in the study of Japanese gardens at school, because they had a major influence on the design of gardens in North America, starting about the 1930s with the initial exposure of California to Eastern gardens. But then after the war, the returning servicemen really were impressed with the Japanese gardens and liked the style. So there was a combination of designing gardens that had that philosophy along with the European philosophies of the very typical French organized gardens. So in North America, we have a fusion of East and West with our gardens, very casual, but combined with still very traditional things like the borders. At school, I was exposed to Japanese gardens with the underlying influence of Zen Buddhism. Later on, I had personal experience with dealing with a potential client who was working with his Feng Shui master to relocate and reorganize a large property. And I had to really understand what he was doing with his Feng Shui in order to influence the Feng Shui master on practical matters. And so therefore I began to a little bit of understanding of Feng Shui is very adaptable, and you have to understand it to work at it at a great depth. And so it was initial influence on that. Then Taoism, I read one or two books in university, but I really haven't been influenced by that at all. Really what it comes down to is an understanding of various things like Feng Shui and Zen, and combining with my own design and how I relate to a site, a garden, a piece of property, relating to the clients, and how people work and flow and move through a site. So really, everything's been a blend of my own study and education over the past 26 years without actually saying I'm a student or a follower of one particular philosophy. It's like a Canadian. I'm a good compromise of all the things going on that we have influencing. If there is a spiritual aspect, it's deep within your own person, and it's for each person to find within the garden. When I'm designing a garden, I'm working with the owners, the people who use it, and I really try and bring out what they want to have in the garden. The spirituality is each person's to find, and I've been very successful in making my clients happy, so therefore their own spirituality is reflected in that garden.
Now, once again, is our FSL question. Which one of the following is considered bad feng shui? A bedroom overlooking a freeway, resting at the end of a long, narrow corridor, a dark, cramped entrance, or not watching Feng Shui Life? We'll have the answer at the end of the show.
To give the people the zone of calmness and serenity that they really are looking for was to bring in things that they can relate to in their own personal gardens. Water, sand, plants, air, green living things, and just a sense of completeness.
Welcome back. Energy study means different things to different people. Now, regardless of what formula you use, the most important thing is that you are open to a beneficial concept. Feng Shui has many siblings. It's all about the qi.
I designed garden space as a space within the central hall of the convention center for the yoga show. And that was a reflection of the whole body, which you find in yoga. And each body is made up of 4 elements. So I designed 4 spaces within each one of those, which it's an essence of the body that's reflected in the 4 gardens, which we'll see in a moment. The first garden we'll see today is the water garden. It's a reflection of the essence of water, which is fluidity and freedom. Also, the design that I chose, which is a square of water, is a real reflection of our Canadian values, because most of us in Canada have grown up or know water as a lake. The contrast is the spray and water that you will find in Mediterranean or Persian gardens, which is reflected in the central spray of water. So I've made the water garden as a fusion of East and West. The meditative space is an opportunity for people to sit down and calm down after all the activity in the yoga show. You find that a lot of people being walking around for several hours get exhausted. So meditative space with their benches was really an opportunity for people to sit, relax, and gain their composure. But as any good garden design, we've got a few other elements going on. The garden is actually a square, and on it, the benches form parts of the square, and the banners behind it form the other side. Also, the bamboo in the meditative space is a symbol of life in copper pots and sand. So all basic elements of garden design are all reflected in that one meditative space. I'm not sure if anyone's actually going to do meditation in that garden, but it is a space for calmness, which is meditation. The sand garden is an attempt to do something that people can relate to in a very simple way. You've been able to buy in many stores little tiny sand gardens. You're able to see pictures and photographs of Japanese sand gardens and gravel gardens. So we thought, well, let's have some fun and we'll give them a small garden to rake the sand. And we've got some handmade wooden rakes. People can rake the sand. The globe cedars are not arranged in a formal pattern. They're arranged in an informal pattern to reflect more nature and the chaos of life. But when we rake the sand, we bring the element of control into the garden. So therefore, it's a combination of chaos and control, which is what we're trying to do in our everyday life. The design element in the yoga show is a series of compromises and working things out with the design team. And one of the requests halfway through the process was, can we incorporate a sand mandala to be created by Tibetan monks? You can actually see them do it. So I had to do an about flip like designers do anytime they're given a project, and I worked on the way of incorporating their design. So obviously, because we're creating a series of 4 small squares, I created a square for the monks, and because they were going to be on display, we raised it on a stage platform 18 inches high. The monks brought their own square 4-foot table, and they're creating a sand mandala. You may or may not know, but at the end of creating the ceremonial sand mandala, the Tibetan monks will very carefully destroy the mandala, sweep the sand together, and dispose of it in another ceremony to symbolize the freedom of the sand to return to its natural elements, which is air, which is our freedom. The other thing which really influences this garden is that I have an assistant, Shalini Ulal, who comes from India, and she has been studying and practicing yoga for a long time. So she was able to influence me with the understanding of some of the deeper insights into how yoga really affects the body. And then she and I worked together to create this garden space, which in fact reflects the whole body. Sacred space is a difficult term to deal with because I've been raised in such a secular environment. In many cultures we do have sacred spaces for example, cathedrals in Europe, in Aboriginal spaces and places in Tibet and Japan and India, which are sacred spaces. But in North America, we don't have sacred spaces to really deal with. People are beginning to try and create them, and it'll be a long, slow process. So again, it's a marriage of understanding the different ideas and working within your own, developing your own ideas over time and influence. These spaces aren't sacred, they're secular. The Feng Shui aspect I tried to incorporate was a powerful symbol is 4 interconnected circles. So also the square is a very important, very powerful element. So I've incorporated 4 interconnected squares within one space. The challenge of creating gardens indoors is to bring together various elements that people relate to in a calming fashion. At the yoga show, people want to learn, to buy, and to explore all things about the yoga. But that creates a lot of tension in people. To give the people the zone of calmness and serenity that they really are looking for was to bring in things that they can relate to in their own personal gardens. Water, sand, plants, air, green living things, and just a sense of completeness. And that's what the garden space at the yoga show is trying to do.
All right, now let's get to the FSL question. And that FSL question was, what is considered bad Feng Shui? A window overlooking a freeway, resting at the end of a long, narrow corridor, a dark and cramped entrance, or not watching Feng Shui life? Well, to tell you the truth, all these responses are nasty, especially the one about not watching Feng Shui life. So I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Please refer to your manuals.